Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar on streamlining enterprise migration with Squadcast. I hope you all are doing well, and I hope you all enjoy today's webinar. Okay, let's start. I'm Vishal Padvan. I am Product Marketing Manager at Squadcast, and we also have Rajat Bharadwaj with us. He is a Technical Solutions Engineer at Squadcast. He has been involved in various migration activities that Squadcast offers, and he'll be sharing his experience and thoughts as we move along with the webinar. Hey, Rajat, welcome to the webinar.
Hi Vishal, hi everyone.
Okay, let's quickly get started with the agenda for today's session. We'll start off this session by discussing some common challenges associated with migration in general. Then we'll move on and talk about Spotcast and see some of the key features that Spotcast has to offer for making sure that the migration happens smoothly. Talking of features, we'll look into how Spotcast goes about implementing its migration practices. We'll discuss PagerDuty Migrator. Now, we get a lot of requests for migration from PagerDuty to Spotcast, and that's why we have this migrator in place. We'll talk about that. We'll move on and take a look at how does the migration timeline look like, and then get into the demo part where the will turn some insights on migration. We'd also take a look at a use case regarding one of our customers, and then we'll open the floor for Q&A. Okay, in terms of some rules, so basically more of guidelines to ensure that the workshop or the webinar feels like a breeze to all of you. So make sure you drop in all your questions. There's a Q&A section that is made available for you folks. You can put in your questions there. Uh, Towards the end of the webinar, we'll circle back to all your questions and make sure we answer those. So, yep, I hope you all enjoyed the webinar, and let's get started. Okay, so Spotcast is a reliability automation platform. It brings in incident management, on-call management, and site reliability engineering under one roof. It takes care of various requirements when it comes to incident response and ensures that there's a structured approach that you can follow to detect and resolve incidents. On-call management ensures that your right team members get alerted when there's an incident. And there are various site reliability engineering practices that we support which ensure that your incident response process in general becomes smoother. What we also offer is some key features that ensure continuous learning as well. We have some features that are powered by AI ML, and what they do is they help you look back into some of the incidents, analyze them, and probably figure out patterns that ensure that if such incidents uh, are triggered in future, you are well prepared to get those incidents resolved. We also have SLO tracking capabilities so that you can stay top of your SLO requirements as well. And in case if you are being troubled by some repetitive tasks, we help you automate those workflows as well with our automation workflows. So that is what Spotcast is when it comes to incident management, a complete solution. And if you are thinking about migrating to Spotcast, then today's webinar will probably help you understand how the migration process can be eased with Spotcast. Um, Talking about migration, let's start by taking a look at some of the challenges that we come across. I'm sure you too might have come across some of these challenges if you've considered migration. Uh, the first one is data migration and integrity. Now, when you talk about data and incident management, we know that we are talking about a lot of incidents, alerts, logs that we have to keep track of, right? And uh, the main goal when it comes to migration is ensuring that all this data gets migrated correctly to your new platform. And if there is a blocker there, or if there's a mismatch, then it can be a big problem when it comes to incident response. So this can be a major challenge. Then the other issue is user training and adoption. They say the tool is uh, only good if the users are able to use it efficiently, right? And that is where user training and adoption helps in that, because that helps you get familiar with the tool, and the process in itself becomes easier. Uh, Integration is now another challenge that you come across, because when you talk about an incident management ecosystem, we are looking at monitoring systems, we are looking at the various set of tools and other third-party tools that you might consider on. When you talk about this ecosystem in general, when you migrate to a new tool, you have to ensure that all these tools and all these requirements do get configured to the new tool as well. And that is why finding a tool that basically supports all these requirements also becomes a key factor and a challenge sometimes. Then change in incident handling. I mean, it is related to user training to some extent, right? I mean, if you're using a particular tool and are working in a particular ecosystem or an environment, uh, you're used to it and the way the schedules work, the way the escalation policies on that particular tool work, right? So when you do migrate to a new tool, is the new tool accepting enough to ensure that similar schedules and similar policies and services have been set up for you on the new tool as well? And if it supports that, then it becomes easier to migrate to that kind of a tool. So finding that kind of a tool again becomes a challenge. Right? Then comes in the security and compliance partner. Security is something that is always non-negotiable. And while migrating, ensuring that the security of your data, security of the entire migration process is taken care of. And that is why it becomes if that does not happen. And what you always look for is also tools that do all the regulatory checks and ensure that there are no compliance risks associated. Downtime and transition periods are also another issue. Now, when you do migrate to a new tool, if the transition times are too long and they don't basically align with your incident management needs, it could again be a problem. That is why uh, considering these factors also becomes easier as into when do you migrate, how do you migrate, and how long does the other thing take for you to migrate to it, right? So these are the factors that also need to be factored in. And then you have stakeholder communication. Now, when you talk about migration in general, it's never just about the technical aspect of things. We also need to look into the teams that work cohesively with each other, all the stakeholder communication that comes with it. So, um, but what we also need to do is make sure that when we communicate and ensure that all these teams are in line with the migration that is happening, we don't delay on the migration process. So we have to hold these two things hand in hand, making sure that the communication happens parallelly and the migration also works out smoothly. So that also becomes a challenge. And finally, is the customization and configuration can also be an issue. Now, like I've mentioned already, the ecosystems or the incident management structure that you're up to, working in can be very large. And uh, if you want to move to a new tool, it should be able to provide you with the same capabilities, right? All the schedules, all the escalation policies, and basically taking in all your integration, all the requirements like you want it to work, right? So uh, if the new tool offers good customization and configuration, the migration in general becomes easier. So these are some of the common challenges that we do come across. Talking about challenges, I'll throw back the question that I asked at the start of the previous slide. Uh, have you ever come across any of such challenges when it comes to uh, considering migration or migrating to a new tool? What I'll do is I'll quickly just go ahead and fire a poll for you folks to go ahead and answer. Let me just go ahead and start a poll, and you people can then go ahead and answer it. So there should be a poll appearing on your screen by now. Uh, so the question remains, what is your biggest challenge when it comes to migrating to an incident management tool? I see that some votes are coming in. That's nice. Okay, I see 6 folks out of 11 have voted. We'll wait 2 more seconds and then probably get started. Okay, I'm about to end the poll. And I'll just go ahead and share the results. I don't know whether the results are visible to you folks. So what we see here is 13% folks think that user training and adoption is important. Uh, we have some 25% for integration with existing systems. Change in incident handling is another one, and stakeholder communication is also what people feel is important. So great. Uh, yeah, so that was the poll, and we know by now that what are some of the common challenges that we deal with. Let's move on and talk about other pointers too. Okay, so moving on to Squadcast and its features in terms of how it supports migration or at least ensures how that can be done smoothly and quickly. So what Squadcast offers is personalized migration assessment. So what we do is our team makes sure that they dive deeper into your current setup and try and understand what are your underlying issues or requirements, right? What are your pain points? And once we have that, then we probably work on a custom migration plan where we tailor a migration plan that suits your requirements, right? And ensuring that we also minimize any operational disruptions that it might potentially have while we migrate to Stockcast. We also take care of your data and configuration transfer requirements, right? Ensure that the transfer in general is secure, be it schedules, escalation policies, services, etc. We ensure that the migration happens quickly, meticulously, and it also matches your current existing workflow stream. We also have 24/7 support. Uh, a dedicated migration engineer uh, will join you when you migrate to Spotcast and will be there throughout the process, ensuring that all your questions are answered and you are helped thoroughly in the migration process. And finally, we have a comprehensive knowledge base where uh, you can go ahead and always go through the resources that are available on our website, like the documentation, all the blogs and the PDFs and the sessions that we have, so that you're familiar with the platform and in case if you want to explore the platform or get a better understanding of the platform in general, you have sufficient stuff to look into. So that is how Squadcast helps you take over or basically look into your migration requirements. We'll discuss this bit in detail. For that, I'll invite Rajat and ask him to take over and talk about migration in a little more detail. Hey, Rajat, over to you.
Hey, thanks, Vishal. Hi, everyone. Thank you all for joining in. So, like Vishal mentioned, that at Squadcast we have a dedicated team for implementation and migration, who is going to be helping you out with the complete process. So, once you decide to move forward with Squadcast, we do a quick business requirement review meeting. We would connect with you to understand if all the requirements are met over the platform and gather details about the key features that you would want to leverage in Squadcast. Now, post that, we then start with the legal and security process. We understand that different teams would have different legal and security checks that they would need to pass through before getting on board. Uh, we also have seen vendor registrations being a typical requirement where people want to first onboard Squadcast as vendors legally and then start using the platform. Now, parallelly, we are in touch with the technical teams as well to understand the use case and requirements. Now, once the contract is in place, then we come up with an implementation and migration plan. Now, if you are using PagerDuty at your end, then we have a migrator in place that would automatically replicate your current setup from PagerDuty to Squadcast. I will cover this in the next slide. And for any other tool like Opsgenie or X Matters, the implementation plan would slightly differ. However, we would be helping you out throughout the migration process. The entire migration process is done in a phased manner with the continuous collaboration and migration reviews so that the entire setup over the Squadcast platform is as per the expectations from the get go. Finally, we have a training and release program that would be tailored as per the use case discussed earlier. We would be conducting dedicated training sessions for both admins and users separately, where we would be covering how you would be using the platform and leveraging different features over the platform. Well, not just that, we also offer 360-degree support. That is, we have QBRs with the teams once they onboard with us. And we also have dedicated account managers working closely with the teams. So if there is any new use case that you would want to set up here on the platform, you can then reach out to them and they would be helping you out to have that implemented over the platform. So this is going to be the complete implementation and go live process in Squadcast. Now, let me walk you through the PagerDuty to Squadcast migration process on the next slide. Vishal, can we move on to the next slide, please? Thank you. Uh, so the migration process is a two-step process. The process on top is handled by the migrator tool that we have, in which we replicate the PagerDuty's team entities to Squadcast squad entities. So the users in PagerDuty would be migrated as users in Squadcast, and all the team roles and permissions would also be migrated to Squadcast. Next, we would have the schedules and escalation policies that are created in PagerDuty would also be replicated in Squadcast automatically, and the schedules would also be mapped to the corresponding escalation policies automatically in Squadcast. Further, the services would be migrated with the corresponding escalation policies mapped with the services, just like it's been set up in your PagerDuty account. Now, to do this entire process, we need a couple of prerequisites. First, we would need the PagerDuty read-only API key. Now, this is needed by the migrator to fetch the exact configuration or setup that you have in your PagerDuty account. Second, we would need the Squadcast account access and Squadcast API token. So this is required by the migrator to transfer the migration fetched from the PagerDuty account and replicate it as it is. We would also need read-only access to your PagerDuty account. This is just to verify the configurations that has been transferred by the migrator. And if there are any discrepancies, then we would schedule a review call to address all the gaps, if any. Next, we would also need the list of teams that needs to be migrated and also the details of the point of contacts for each team so that we can schedule a review call with them to verify the configurations done over Squadcast. Now, once this is done, we would be moving ahead with the second step of the migration process, where we would be migrating the schedules, the schedule rotations, and we would also be working with your team members to help them integrate your alert sources or monitoring tools with the services in Squadcast, since we wouldn't be having the access to the monitoring tools at your end. Now, for this to happen, the prerequisite are that we would need the point of contacts who has access to the monitoring tools to work with us so that we can schedule the calls with them. Now, the basic on-call setup is done, and your engineers would start receiving the notifications from the monitoring tools. Next, if you have event orchestrations or automations configured in your PagerDuty account, then we would schedule a feedback call over which we will configure the automations in Squadcast like tagging, routing, and alert suppression to reduce alert noise and alert fatigue at your end, and to have the whole on-call alerting setup automated. Once that is done, finally, we would schedule a configuration verification call where we would take your feedback. And if there are any final changes that needs to be done in the configuration, then that would also be addressed at this stage. Now, on the next slide, so this is an example of how typically migration and implementation plan or timeline would look like. As you can see on the left hand side, these are the action items and the number of days associated with it. Now, this can vary for different business requirements and use cases. However, the whole process usually takes anywhere between 1 to 2 weeks, depending upon the complexity of the setup and different business use cases. So this was an overview of the complete migration and implementation process for you. Now, let me share my screen and give you all a walkthrough of the platform and the entities that would be migrated from PagerDuty to Squadcast. I hope my screen is visible.
Yes, Rajat. Please go on.
Perfect. So once you sign up over the platform, you would land on the dashboard. So dashboard gives you a high level overview of all the alerts that are coming in from your monitoring tools. And they are categorized into various states, them being triggered, acknowledged, resolved, and suppressed. Suppression is an automation in Squadcast. You can also see response metrics like mean time to acknowledge and mean time to resolve. Now, I mentioned that as a prerequisite, we would be needing the Squadcast API token. So you can find that under the profile settings. Now, once we have these details provided to the migrator, and once we run the migrator, the first entity that would be transferred would be the users. And these users would be part of the default team. Now, if you have multiple teams created in your PagerDuty account, then those teams would be created as squads in Squadcast. Now, the next entities that would be transferred are the schedules and the escalation policies. So, and not just that, the escalation policies would have the schedules mapped to them automatically, just like it is over your PagerDuty account. And within the escalation policy, once it is migrated to Squadcast, by default, you will see personal notification rules here. Now, this is because PagerDuty only has personal notification rules. However, over Squadcast, you can also choose custom notification rules where you, as the manager, have the capability to decide how do you want your team members to be notified. You can notify them via phone call, email, SMS, or mobile app push notification. Now, other than this, you would also have the services migrated from PagerDuty to Squadcast. And along with the services, you would also have the escalation policies mapped to them automatically. Now, like I mentioned, that we would be helping you out to integrate your alert sources with these services. And once that is done, you can add a bunch of automations on top of these services. So you can classify your incoming alerts with more meaningful information like priority or severity. And using these tags, you can also route your incidents more intelligently. So let's say you can route all your high priority incidents to high priority escalation policy. You can also club similar alerts together into one single incident using the deduplication rules. And you can also choose not to get notified for non-actionable or non-critical alerts using the suppression rules. Now, once we have all of the setup in place, we would be conducting the training and release program with you, where we would be uh, giving training to the admins as well as to the users separately. Now, now I'd like to share our recent migration success story with you. For that, Vishal, can you share that slide again, please? Perfect. Thank you. Uh, so we had a challenging task of migrating 560 users from PagerDuty within just 2 weeks. So to tackle this tight timeline, we engage with the team leads and managers to understand their specific needs, which helped us create an effective implementation plan. We divided the entire migration process into 6 phases, each lasting 2 to 3 days with 3 to 4 hours of work each day. After each phase, we connected with the spokes for feedback and adjustments. Now, once the migration was complete, we conducted separate training sessions for users and admins, each lasting 3 hours. And to ensure effective learning, users were divided into batches of 50. So at the end, the migration was completed on time with zero disruption and high user satisfaction through structured training. Now, I believe we also have Alex with us today in the webinar. They are undergoing a PagerDuty to Squadcast migration right now with us. The migration for them was done using the migrated tool that we have. So let's hear from Alex what he has to say about his experience with the entire migration process. Vishal, can we please unmute Alex?
Okay, sure, Rajat. Hi, Alex.
Yeah.
Hey, how you doing?
You're doing good. Welcome to the webinar.
Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
We'd be happy to hear your experience. Please go ahead and take the stage.
We've been very happy with the experience and the migration tools that you used to get everything, and the process was very seamless. So let's see, we were able to get our users' schedules and escalation policies imported in what, 2 to 3 days? It was very fast. And then the hardest part for me was to get all the webhooks recreated and connect all of our back-end services. But that did take me maybe 2 days overall, one day to really reconnect everything, and then another day to connect with all of our engineering managers and educate them on the platform. And we will be cutting over very soon. Um, we're very happy. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex, and we're happy to have you. Hope the migration process happens quick and soon, and we hear back from you. Thank you for your time, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the webinar.
Sure. Let me know if you have any other questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, so that was Alex, and you heard what his feedback was when it comes to migration of this podcast. Now we open the floor for questions. So in case if you folks have any questions, make sure you put those in the chat and we'll be more than happy to take those. Okay. So we have a question from one of our attendees, and the question says, how long does the migration usually take to finish overall? Rajat, would you like to take this question?
Usually it takes around like depending upon the business use cases and the different requirements, it usually takes around 1 to 2 weeks to get over with the entire migration process. So yeah, that's the timeline usually. I mean, I have not seen any migration taking over 2 weeks so far. So yeah.
Okay, there's another question. The question says, will running the migrator mess up the config in our PD account?
No, absolutely not, because the access that we would be needed is only the read only access. So your current PD account would be entirely untouched. It would remain as it is right now.
Okay, there's one more question which says, do you have a migrator for other tools? So something like Opsgenie, or is it just the PagerDuty?
Right, that's a great question. So right now we do have a migrator in place for PagerDuty. However, we are having a lot of requests for Opsgenie. So that is something which the team is working on right now. I think the migrator is in for Opsgenie is in testing phase right now, and we should be rolling that out soon. However, we have had successful Opsgenie migration recently as well. So if there is any requirement on that part, if someone is looking to get migrate from Opsgenie to Squadcast, then we can definitely connect and plan out how to take that up further.
Okay, there's one more question that says, do we need to give write access to our PD account, or have we covered this? No.
To the PagerDuty account?
Yeah.
No. We only need the read-only access just to verify the configurations that has been transferred or migrated by the migrator. So we just need the read-only access, nothing more of that.
Okay, so these are the questions. Folks, if there are any more questions, we'll wait for another few seconds and you can add your questions and we'll be happy to take those questions. Okay, I don't see any more questions. Have I missed anything? I'll just do a quick check. No, we've answered all the questions. So that concludes our Q&A section, and that brings us to the close of this session. So we'll quickly take a look at the summary as in what all we go through. So we did start this session talking about challenges associated with migration, and then we looked into some of the key features that Squadcast offers in order to ensure that the migration happens smoothly. Uh, Key takeaways for us would be that migration can be simplified with the right planning, support, and automation tools. And that Squadcast does provide a personalized approach when it comes to offering the right support and right tools to ensure that the migration happens smoothly. We did take a look at some real life use cases and also explored the benefits of migrating to Squadcast. So that's it. Again, talking about Squadcast, it is the reliability automation platform which brings in all your incident management, on-call management, and SRE requirements under one roof. In case if you are new to Squadcast or haven't given it a try and you want to, we do offer a 2-week free trial. So make sure to sign up and give it a try. And in case if you need a detailed demo, you can request that to a sales team, and they'll come back with a demo for you to answer all the queries. Finally, if you've joined the webinar late, do not worry, we'll have this recorded, and the recording would be edited and shared with you soon. So that's it from my end. I hope you all had fun, and thank you for joining. Have a good day. Thank you. Bye.